Bonsoir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jérôme, welcome to New York. You arrived today, and we have had 2 weeks together, and 2 weeks of your performances. Lily mentioned at the Joys in the Kitchen at MoMA. And today it started. We just saw the wonderful Véronique Doisneau. And we are ending with MoMA. We are ending with the museum, with the MoMA Dance Company. And there is a beautiful quote that I really like. We started also our MoMA brochure with it. When you said, "The nicest is when I'm offered a context I would have not sought out myself." And I'm sure that the opera and also the museum are not really contexts that you looked for. You were somehow invited to come to the opera, to do the piece at the opera, and to do the piece at MoMA. So can you say more? And you also just finished the piece at the opera recently, this winter. So can you say more about this invitation to the opera and how you worked in it? What was your reaction?
I was very, very surprised to be invited at the Paris Opera, because my work is very, very different from what they do. And when I received the invitations, my friends around told me that I shouldn't do it, because there is a big struggle historically in France between modern dance, contemporary dance, and ballet. Because ballet is French, so it's huge, and we don't have any modern dance history until the 70s, because ballet was like taking all the place and the money. So there is it's very tense between the two. Practices, let's say. So, but I felt like I had to deal with this past. So I decided to do it, and Véronique came because in the beginning, of course, there are 154 dancers. So I said, well, I will use everyone because I will never get the chance to have like 154 dancers, and but then I started to be around, and in the house, in the Garnier mainly, and I realized that it was very, very strange, because I mean it's like 8 metro stations from my house, the Paris Opera, and I was in France. I was a dancer at that time, but then I couldn't understand what they were saying. We didn't have the same language. And I said, what's going on? I mean, we share the same profession, and so then I realized how specific it was, and that it looks like, we have this. I mean, Paligani is this ugly Napoleon III style, which is here in the city, and it's like a fortress, totally closed, with a lot of secrets. And I realized it was like a tribe with strange rituals who were living in the center of Paris. So I identify myself because I was reading at that time Claude Lévi-Strauss, and I was very fascinated by Triste Tropique, where he goes to Brazil in the 30s in the forests, in the Amazons, and he describes his encounter with the tribes. And I said, okay, I should do the same. I have to understand what's going on here. So I said, if I want to study the tribe, I need to take a specimen of the tribe and study it. So I went to see the artistic director, Brigitte Lefebvre, and say, okay, I want to make a solo about a dancer, a female dancer, because for me, ballet is female. The ballerina. There is no ballerino. There is a ballerina. And
there is Rudolf Nureyev.
Yeah, but he was yes, yeah. I mean, he's the one who pushed the part of the man on stage more than usual. So I said, okay, I have the idea. I want to make a solo in which the ballerina will talk about her life, her work. I said, oh, that's a great idea. Here are the 8 stars. And I said, no, I want the worst dancer of the Paris Opera. And she said, get out. So I left. Of course, I was stupid to react like this, but I thought it was so provocative, the fact that she said, here are the stars, because the stars are the ones who are casted in solos. And of course, but I didn't know exactly yet what I wanted to do, so I said, no, I want the worst. No. And then 15 days after, she called me and she said, okay, I've been thinking, I think you should take somebody from in the middle of the hierarchy. And I said, that's a great idea. That's perfect. I need somebody, the average, in between. Not the star, not the worst. The one who know what it is to be a star. Sometimes she do solos, and the one who knows what it is to do the corps. So then she said, okay, choose one. So I was sitting, I don't know, 20 rows or something like the Paris Opera. I was like, I don't see them. So I said, okay, give me tickets front row. I said, look during the performance and choose something else. And I couldn't see anybody. I mean, I could see all of them, but no one was singular. When you make a choice, it's because it's singular. And of course, this is the opposite of being singular. So then I found somebody in a hotel, swimming pool in a hotel, who was at the ballet, who left the ballet to Pina Bausch, and I asked her if she knew somebody, and she told me.
Véronique.
She gave me 3 names, and Véronique was inside. I went to the director. I said, okay, I found 3 women. She said, oh, okay, who? I said, oh, great. I didn't know them. But I had 3 names, and then I met them, and I made some interviews with them in order to know them and in order to find the material for the solo. And there was one question, and of course they were one by one, and there was one question which was, what with the choreographer you didn't like to work with? And the 2 first ones look at me like, panicking a little bit, like, what should I say? And both of them react like, oh, everybody's interesting. I have something interesting. And Véronique looked at me and stared at me and said, Maurice Béjart and Roland Petit. And I knew this was very difficult to say something like this in the Paris Opera. She needs to have guts and courage. So, of course, it was based on the truth. Couldn't tell. And I know that not every dancer like all the choreographers. It would be heaven. It's not heaven. Paris Opera is not heaven.
And did you work together on the script?
Yeah, we made interviews like this, asking question, and regards to what I think was understandable for the audience. I edited everything, and I kept this. And then I realized later that the 2 other ones who didn't say any names, they were in their 30s. So they had still 10 years to work at the Paris Opera. But Véronique, she was leaving. So she had nothing to lose, so that's why she was very, now it's finished. But the 2 others, if they would say this in the Paris Opera, they wouldn't perform in the other 2 choreographers, in the piece of the other choreographers, because nobody, they won't want her, of course, it's an outrage. So Véronique was like, okay, please, come on stage and say it.
And she did it.
Yeah, she did it.
And she keeps on doing it through the film.
Yeah, because unfortunately, I mean, it's always sad in a way to see her on film. I was watching it; it was very nice also. But of course, she left the Paris Opera. I mean, she's retired and she doesn't want to do it again. I mean, and she can't do it. I mean, she can't go on points anymore. And it's 10 years now.
As Lily said, it's far from being a retrospective. It's basically showing the film and other free works, but it's a kind of a portrait. And the free works that will be shown next week are very different in a way, but they all somehow also come together. So from this institutional context, when you're like pointing on the individual, somehow revealing the backstage of the institution, to the piece that from next week, the show must go on, that have been performed already, when it's basically the performers are following the score of the pop song, and to the Jérôme Bel, which is a USA premiere here from your piece from the 90s of the poor reduction, of the performance itself, to the performer, the stage basically, and light to then the MoMA piece, which is more about community in a way and dancing, and I will come later to that. But maybe it would be interesting to hear more about Jérôme Bel, because it's the first time that it will be shown, and it's also it's also a piece that you did in the 90s. You toured and you stopped and you started again 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong.
Well, Jérôme Bel is Jérôme Bel. He talks about me. Then Show Must Go On is about what can be a community, but it's still my relation to the world. So they're still controlled by me. And then this one is l'opposé.
The opposite.
The opposite, because Show Must Go On. Well, I just arrived, so because Show Must Go On has been very difficult on a personal level, because
to the audience, or
no, to the audience it was terrible, but with me it was very difficult for me because it's a group, there are 20 people on stage and we went on tour all over the world, and I was not skilled to keep on to use the power against or with 20 people.
You mean in terms of directing them, and staying with them, and being with them, encouraging them?
Yes, on a personal level it was a failure. I realized that there was something wrong in this situation of somebody alone in front of 20 people, and a boss, and people were doing what the boss wanted to do, and I was the boss, and I didn't realize this, how alienating it was for the people. And that's why also I think I resolved it with Véronique Doisneau. Véronique Doisneau is only one, she's not Jérôme Bel, this is her life. I cannot do anything on her life, on her work. So it was a way for me to recreate a relation with somebody else which was more equal, and it was easier because I have to take care of only one person, and we still have a coffee every 6 months. The people of Show Must Go On, they don't want to talk to me anymore. That's why we have a new cast in New York. And that's why I don't rehearse. I'm here. General rehearsal is after tomorrow. And I won't be there. So why do I say that?
I asked you about Jérôme Bel.
It's all about this. It's all about dance. The great chance of dance is that we all have to work together, which is not the case of a writer or of a visual art who can be alone. And there is this thing we have to deal with, which is the relation, the power relations with people, which is very complicated for me.
Particularly the position of a choreographer.
Yes. And then, if I go fast to the piece for the MoMA, is I surrender to the people. I don't do anything.
I was trying to go back to 95 with the Jérôme Bel.
I go very fast. I go very fast tonight.
Okay.
Very fast retrospective in 3 sentences.
So let's because I will comment Jérôme Bel in terms that there is it's dance without a dance. Basically, you don't like the term non-dance. You said it's a term of a lazy journalist, but there is somehow, as I said, dance with no dance, like disabling dance, and I'm very much looking forward to see it at the kitchen the week on the 27th. While at MoMA, it basically is happening something completely opposite, and this is what's happening with your piece Gala, and which it somehow is inspired for a MoMA dance company, when you basically give a lot of freedom to the participants and creating a kind of a ephemeral community.
Yeah, and let's say that the equation in because Véronique, I allow Véronique to be herself, to become a subject. She's an object in a company. She's a body behind, a décor humain, she said. And the operation I do is to bring her as a subject. Bonsoir, je suis Véronique Doisneau. Nobody never heard about her, and it's like 20 years this year on stage. So she's alone. She has her identity. The Schumann's gun is like they're a lot, but they have no identity. That's me. So the MoMA, the thing we're doing, it's not done yet. Is the equation is how to have singularities together, creating a community equal. That's what is at stake in the thing.
Just to maybe say more about the MoMA project, because we are going very forward, it was an open call that Jérôme made for the MoMA staff to be part of the MoMA dance company. So basically, in the last few months, we created a MoMA dance company with like 25 performers that they're going to perform in the atrium twice a day from the 27th to the 31st of October. We want to reveal maybe too much, so we invite no. So you're all invited.
Because we didn't yet rehearse.
Yeah, but there is something interesting that there is with Jérôme Bel. There is idea of the naming. No, also the performances are naming themselves. They are naming the objects which are on the stage.
Yeah, subject. I mean, I
but
put
here,
words on them.
Yeah, but Véronique is talking, so there is that. But it's interesting that you're now, with your last projects, you're giving somehow more confidence to dance. Dance is becoming eloquent almost as words. While I have the impression that in the past was different. There was like you needed the words, you needed to talk, to be a subject. While now you're like letting people to dance without, you even told me I'm not interested anymore so much in talking.
Well, yeah, recently I have more confidence in dance. I mean, something happened with the piece which has been performed here, Disabled Theatre, the piece I did with mentally disabled actors from a company in Switzerland who commissioned me a work also. Of course, I would never had the idea of working with them. I didn't know anything about it. And so I wanted to, of course I wanted to, I asked questions again, I wanted them to say things about their life. Well, yes, usually it's about their lives, the life of performers. And of course, because of their cognitive alteration, it was very difficult for them to speak, and also they're speaking German, and I don't speak German, so this was not easy. And they speak a dialect, Swiss dialect. So it was not working, and then I was desperate one day, and I always, like bad choreographers do when they have no idea, said, can you do a solo for tomorrow? Each one do a solo, an improvisation. So I was like, okay, can you do a solo for tomorrow? When you have no more ideas, you do that. And they came with solo with no problem. On the contrary, they were like very, very, very creative, they couldn't stop dancing and changing their dance, by the way. And then suddenly, I don't know, something. Suddenly, for all those years, I tried to articulate the most precise using language. What was dance? Why we were dancing? How alienating was the dance, or liberating? I was producing discourse on dance, and with them, the discourse was not possible. But when I saw them dancing, I started to understand them. I started to see literally their mental structure. I could see how they their own perception of their own body and their relation with the outer world. So suddenly that's what I was looking with language, and I could find it again.
But you also were losing control a bit of them, no? It was
yes, then you lose control. Yes, it's true. And then I discovered that it was very, very liberating to lose control. That it was perfect. That they could do whatever they wanted, and I didn't have to tell them what to do, and then to do my position of master, which is a problem for me. So then it was liberating, emancipating from myself. I was escaping to this power sense, and I was.
Also, in the beginning, they do say at the stage, for those who haven't seen the piece, which was shown 3 years ago, Jérôme asked me to do. There is this idea. There is the translator that is mediating between you, the public, and them in a way. Jérôme asked me to do
I still do create a structure when something can happen. Well, I have to destroy it now, but at that time it was, I create a dispositive apparatus for things to happen. I mean, the smallest it is, the best it is, of course, but still now there is this thing which is a frame, there's some lights, I mean, all those things.
Science, yes.
Yes, there is a structure, there is a dispositive.
And the works that we are, The Show Must Go On is from 2001, Jérôme Bel from 95, Véronique was from 2004, in particular the show, both Jérôme Bel and The Show Must Go On, they created very violent reactions in the public, no, at the time when they were shown. And The Show Must Go On has been touring a lot, and Jérôme Bel started again. But how is your feeling when when the works are touring so much, and what are the reactions now after? Like, considering particularly Show Must Go On, that was just such a strong piece. I think you were even sued by someone in Dublin for, like, when he came to the theatre and basically so The Show Must Go On.
No, it was Jérôme Bel.
Jérôme Bel?
Yeah, he went to Supreme Court because there was no dance. So he took dance philosophy, I don't even know if dance philosophy exists, but a philosopher describing dance, and he proved to the Supreme Court in Dublin that it was not dance, and he paid for and I remember, of course I didn't went to the trial, but I didn't go to the trial, but I remember this guy coming out of the before the end of the show asking for a phone to call the police.
It doesn't happen so much anymore. Someone would go out of the show and...
No, I mean, it never happens. Please, I hope so. I mean, never. I mean, I never heard about this. But yeah, no, the reactions are quite... Where? I don't know. I don't go on tour anymore, but I think it's all right now. And okay, it's all right because now the piece is maybe protected by kind of recognition of my work. So people, at that time, it was my second piece, Nobody Knows Me, and then it was like Jérôme Bel, and then there was a choreographer that didn't know it was named also Jérôme Bel, and they didn't know, and they were shocked. But now it has been commented, it has been criticized.
But you don't want to retake your first piece, your first performance.
Nom donné par l'auteur. Name given by the author, which is a definition of title in the French dictionary.
The second piece was the name by the choreographer.
Yeah. No, I don't want to do it.
No?
No, because I mean it. And I'm a very bad performer. I'm very afraid. No, it's very boring. I mean, I never see it. I think this was very shocking. This one, we went very far. People were snoring in the audience. And then everybody was laughing, and we laughed also because this guy was...
You're basically moving objects, no?
We're moving objects during 1 hour. With no music, no text, no costume. But it is choreography without dance.
Do you have any definition of choreography yourself? I read yesterday Anne-Teresa de Kersmacher said choreography is movement in time and space.
Well said, Anne-Teresa. Yes, of course. This is a liminal... yes, of course. Time and space. So the objects were in time and space. In diagonal, da-da-da, and then we were waiting to look at them for a while, shorter, longer. It was choreography, but I took off the dance.
Now dance is back.
And dance is very welcome.
Yeah. But now you're working a lot with amateurs. I mean, you worked also in the show Must Go On with amateur dancers and amateur. And how do you, particularly today in the world when everything is so professionalized, the amateur is somehow a strange figure.
Because the amateur is interesting for me because I think the body of the dancer is very too standardized, uniformized, and it's difficult to find a company with different people. So I prefer to take anybody. Anybody, and also I want to, this is a dream since a long time, to do things that everybody can do, and not only a specialized body, but this could be everyone. So the audience could say it could be me. I think, and also it creates, with this tool, this strategy, it creates equality, more equality. If you're like this, people are like, they admire you, but they feel like he's better than me. He can do things that I cannot do. And of course, this is okay, but I try the other way around to do something where we can do it. all of it.
I don't know, maybe we can already open questions for the audience, no? Yes, we have a very strong light, so we don't see very well. I can see.
Do you have a mic, or you have to scream?
Yes, mics.
Mic.
Can you speak a bit about your latest experience at the Paris Opera, the piece you made last winter?
Okay, I had a commission from Benjamin Millepied, who asked me like 3 years ago now if I would be interested to do something. I was hesitating. Why did I hesitate? Yeah, because I was so happy with Véronique. I said, what can I do? It could be relevant. And I listened to Benjamin, who was telling me a lot about trying to change a little bit the situation in the Paris Opera, and especially the hierarchy. He wanted to create, not to destroy, but to change it, to make it less hierarchical, and also about the ethnicity in the representation of ethnicity in the company. And of course, I was supporting a lot because I had the same problems since I was working there in 2004, I was very shocked by this, because this is national opera, and this is not the nation, which is represented far from that. So I thought Benjamin could bring something necessary, and that's why I did this work for that reason, in which I offered all the dancers who would like to choose somebody to dance with who they would never dance on the Paris opera stage. Isn't my sentence okay? Or
they had to choose someone they would have never had the opportunity to dance with in the Paris opera.
Exactly. So we did duets.
You asked the dancers of the Paris opera?
Yeah, the one who wanted. And I had like 4 people. No, there are 154. I had 4 people who said no. And we did that production, which didn't come out so good at the end, but
why?
Because it was a wrong. Because I was commissioned for 30 minutes, which I love, because usually when I do work for my company, I need to do full evening, because we need to occupy the time for the audience. That's the format. Huh? So I'm always interested to do shorter works, like they do. So they do a mixed evening, and unfortunately, I was with Jérôme Bel. It was a very classical piece on Bach, and then there was a very mixed audience, because in the Paris Opera during the last 20 years, it was slowly, there was like 2 companies in the Paris Opera, one contemporary one and a ballet one. And then it has never been said, I tell you tonight. But meaning that people know a little bit if they go for Pina Bausch and Ante the Kirsmaker, or Petit Pas and Balanchine and things like that. And here, it was very strange. The audience was like, not. Some people were coming from me, and then they were very angry. Which one?
But you mean?
Because we were like doing the opposite in a way. So, and also, I think I didn't have enough time. And I was afraid. And then Benjamin decided to do a new piece, and he was like suddenly in the program also. It was like, I mean, I don't feel, and then the audience was very, very angry.
Angry.
This is like, and I forgot about la bourgeoisie conservatrice. I forgot that there is, I'm living in a world of, I'm very lucky, I can do whatever I want, And I forgot that there is in France still a bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie, c'est normal, there is bourgeoisie. But conservatrices really don't want them to change anything.
But how were the reaction of Véronique Doisneau? They were booing.
Well, they were booing.
They were booing.
Yeah. It was very tough for me, and I didn't go to see all the show because it was too hard. So it's not a very good memory. I rework now on a film on it, so maybe we'll
the
see
film of La Tombée.
Yeah. It was called Tombe, grave, because it was all about Giselle, and there is a tombe. And also tombe in French means fall. So they didn't like it so much. That's my experience. It's very confused. I'm sorry. It's 6 months ago, and I'm still don't really know what happened. No, it's true. It takes me. Yeah.
Hi. Question. I think I heard something that you may be doing some collaboration with Sally Silvers. Is that correct? And if so, could you say anything about that?
Oh, she's in The Show Must Go On. She's casted. She's dancing in the Show Must Go On at the Joyce. I saw her with Ivan Reiner in Centre Pompidou in Paris. I didn't know her, and I thought she was absolutely fantastic. So when we decided to do Showman's Gone is always now with the local cast in New York. I asked her to join us, and she said yes. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm not sure I can say this very clearly, but you had said about Véronique Doisneau that she went from being an object to being a subject in the sort of once she was given a name and we knew who she was. And I thought, if that's your idea of dance, if that's your idea of what's important, then dance will always be subordinated to talking. Because it seems to me that in dancing, everyone always goes from being a subject to an object to a subject to an object. That's what's incredible about it.
But not all the dancers. Some dancers are more subjectified than others, and you'll see it when she does Swan Lake.
She's incredibly beautiful.
Yes, because I took everything out in order for you to see that.
Right.
But we don't see that. We don't even look at her when there are the 32 dancers. We see, because meanwhile she's doing this, the two stars in the front are like loving each other, you know? So of course I believe that dance, I want to believe, and I fight for dance as a tool for emancipation and liberating yourself, but some dancers are not. She's saying the sufferings.
Right.
So
no, I'm not denying that. I just think that the idea that what you want ultimately to do is for people to have an identity. Sort of already imagines dance to be sort of like everything else that isn't dance. And I don't know why you would want that. I think dance is liberating precisely because we're an object some of the time and a subject some of the time.
Yeah, if you choose it, yes. If you choose to be an object, it's okay. She's not choosing it.
Yeah, but that's what then you're just repeating, you're getting into a tautology.
But I think that's actually the interesting thing, in a way, that you cannot have one part or the other, but it's both in a way. So it's emancipated, but it's not really. I think it's also what is like negating virtuosity, but also necessity for virtuosity, creating a community, but the community will dissolve, not controlling, but still creating structure. This is, for me, it's also the interesting part of the work.
Negotiation. It's like we all do every day in our life.
And how was thinking about what? Yeah, also what are we there? How was thinking about the piece in a framework that it was not a theater framework, because you're working a lot with the protocols and the codes of the theater. So when you start thinking also the piece that will happen at MoMA, you start thinking before, when like 2-3 years ago, when you start talking about the possibility, you start thinking about, what can be a piece, a performance in a white cube, not necessarily.
Because museum commissioned me works, so they have no theater, so I have to say, let's try with no stage, with no seats, with no lights, with no sound, with terrible sound, because in the white cube it's awful. I do it because
it's another context you're invited somehow.
It's not a.
It's another context.
Yeah, and it forces me to make me think differently and to find a solution. And what we'll do in the MoMA has been made for that, because you guys invited me 3 years ago now, and I need to. And of course, it cannot be long because you have no seats, and if you sit on the floor, it hurts. So there is many things like this. No light, no set. It's. We'll see if it's good. It's interesting to be pushed away from what you know, always. And then you fail, and then you forget about it, it's okay.
You feel better.
And you feel better, yeah, exactly.
It would be a nice way to stop, but yes, we can take one more question.
I thought your movie was extraordinarily moving, and I would like to make a point. It is a perfect illustration of the style of dance, so discipline and the school of dance of the Paris Opera. This young lady may not have been a star, but when she raises her arm, I see Yvette Chauviret, because we all know that Yvette Chauviret has been teaching and transmitting the tradition. So with all the criticism that we can make about ballet, it's something very specific. The language that she is talking about, she is illustrating herself in a wonderful way and very moving. I think there's too much criticism about the administration of the Paris Opera, and we tend to forget about the result. And Nureyev was the one who really woke everyone up, and this dancer is wonderful in the way she restitutes, gives back exactly the teaching of the Paris Opera. And I think for that your film is a wonderful example. It may not have been.
Yeah, I agree. There is incredible knowledge. What do you do with that? What is it for? What is the price of it? Everybody has to decide. Everybody has his.
We'll take the last one.
Hi. You mentioned several pieces that made the audiences angry or left you with a bad feeling. What are the pieces that the audiences have liked and that have left you with a good feeling?
Quelles sont les pièces que les spectateurs ont parti ravis?
I couldn't understand this one. Well, no, it's going okay.
Gala is going very well.
No, after a while. I mean, no, okay. There are some minority where, if I'm here tonight, I could keep on working. I've been supported in a way which is incredible, and people were fighting, and critics were smashing each other at the premiere of Show Must Go On in Paris. It was like, because they all sit together, and one was like, ah, and the other were like, oh, bah! I heard. But no, some like it, and some, no, of course don't. I've been shocked by those reactions, which were not only I don't like it because of this, because of that, but really during the show asking for their money back, which is not what happens normally in bourgeois theater, where I belong to. I'm performing in front of bourgeois. Bourgeois libéraux. But there was some very strong reactions, and if you have only one in a room, it looks like it's a riot. Because we're not used to do that. We used to.
But now with Gala, there are very positive reactions in the room. I saw it 4 times, and every time the public is really.
I improved my.
Yeah. Now sometimes the dance people.
It's going very well with Véronique. It went very well. Only one guy said when she said, "Yeah, I make 3,500 euros." One guy from the darkness said, "It's a lot of money to do nothing on stage." Thank you. But no, the reactions of people were very, very supportive. The one, the last one, Paris Opera, was very less. No, it's going okay. Some people enjoy it, some people don't, and that's okay. I understand. There is no so many. It's dry. There is one line, there is one dramaturgy. I don't bring suddenly like 3 elephants coming, I keep, and I dig in my subject instead of adding things to make something spectacular. So if you're not interested, there is only one line, and then you're really get bored, I think. I think that's maybe the reason. And also I try to go on the edge. I try to question the performance, the relation with the audience, what it is to be a dancer at the Paris Opera. How do you say that? Je critique,
I criticize.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a good end, and hope to see you all in the next 2 weeks. MoMA Joy.